Good morning, Matteo. Really appreciate you coming on at 8 a.m. in the morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Talking from Montreal, Canada. It's a bit cold out here, but nothing I'm not used to. How you doing, brother?
Right. I'm good. A bit warmer here in the UK, so still cold, but yeah, all good. So the reason I invited you on is because I saw a win from you in the copywriting campus. Could you explain what that was about?
Right. So my most recent win had came from closing a client 1.5K US slash 2K Canadian deal. And pretty much the structure of the deal was ghostwriting and copywriting for emails. So pretty much the ghostwriting part was the actual 1.5K deal plus 30% commission on from the email marketing. So I would build up his Twitter. I would pretty much post for him, manage everything from the inside. And then once I started getting traction from him with his account, then build the email sequence as I build an email list and then start sending out that and pretty much just start growing and making him money from scratch.
Mhm. Congratulations. Have there been any other wins that you haven't posted that you've had?
So I've had a few deals closed recently actually, but it's not a client till it's a client, till the money's in the account, right? But pretty much commission based, performance based. I do think that's one of the ways to go for now in my trajectory. But I've had quite a few half up front. So my first ever client was a pretty solid paying client. I have made about $2,000. Um, yeah, I made about $2,000 from him. Wrote him an ebook, got his email list to 1,000. Ended up filling up his whole online academy through the emails with with the book itself, and yeah, yeah.
Mhm. Very nice. Did you start out with any experience when you first joined the real world in copywriting?
I mean, I did make the transition from Hustlers University to the real world, but before the Hustlers University, I had no idea what copywriting was, and I guess I was your typical high school kid with kind of like no direction or just going towards a 9 to 5, but I was not feeling that at all. And I was in and out of jobs throughout post high school. I went to college for like a half a semester, wasn't feeling it. And eventually I stumbled across Tate like in 2019, 2020. From there, ended up seeing he had this Hustle University online program, and I didn't take it up right away. And that was until I saw Dylan Madden. And he was a man that pretty much inspired me to get into copywriting because he was the one that was saying, like, all you have to do is sit down for a few hours a day, write some emails out, and you'll be good. I almost didn't believe him at first, honestly, but I was like, let me see, what it's about. A few YouTube videos in, I was like, you know what? I think this is something I can be good at. And so I ended up taking his $100,000 per year email list mastery course. And from there, just went in, studied, applied. And then once I felt comfortable, pretty much put everything I had together, took action towards it, and started pitching. Ended up getting my first client and went from there.
And to clarify, the those lessons were they from the real world or HU, or were they outside of it or separate by
So,
Dylan Madden?
right. So I ended up signing up for both. So I got first I got the email list mastery from Dylan Madden. And then I wanted to know a bit more. And then I found out that Andrew Bass was also doing a bit more teaching on Hustle University. So I ended up going on Hustle University. I started learning a bit more in-depth things from him. So I started pretty much putting in, Andrew Bass's teachings with Dylan Madden's. and pretty much going forward from there.
Yeah. And what would you say is the difference between what the real world is now and what HU used to be?
Oh, even something as simple as like the social seduction skills being put into the like as a course, the financial wizardry, the like just it's the courses have expanded like crazy. You know, when I was in the Hustlers University, I already thought that, you know, Tate and all the guys were like over delivering on what they're providing for us to for 49.90, whatever it is, $49, right? And then they talk about the real world, and I'm just thinking like, okay, it might just be similar. It is, but times 100, you know. So they put out a whole bunch of new courses, and I would just sit there and watch and watch and watch and watch. And I was like, this is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a bit of that. I would say the biggest thing is just they've like continue to over deliver, they continue to fix, and you know, the professors continue to be there more and more for the students in the chats, making sure that everybody's good. And for that, I mean, that's pretty much it, man.
And what would you say the average day looks like now compared to before you joined the real world or HU at the time?
All right, so I spent about 7 months at a job as a sales rep for an environmental company. So I had the regular 9 to 5 plus my copywriting on the side, and that was until about 3 weeks ago, where I decided, fuck that, quit my job, and now pretty much my days look exactly like this. Me and you on a call. I do this with prospects as well. So pretty much I wake up, you know, breakfast, do some push-ups, get a workout in if I have to. Um, you know, get on Twitter, start prospecting, start engaging, you know, get on Tweet Hunter, start posting some, scheduling some tweets, you know, go on Instagram, see if I can find any more leads from there. And my day is pretty much just based off trying to close deals. And yeah, I'll give you an example. Yesterday, though, I've got an opportunity to be a high ticket sales closer. So that's also looking like that'll be filling up probably the morning of my day. And then I'll do the copywriting in the afternoon.
Mm-hmm. What would you say to people who would call that a bit excessive in terms of how much work you're doing?
Well, I'm paying myself a lot more than my employer did.
Mm-hmm.
That's for sure. I really like, you know what I mean? And one thing that Tate said a while ago was that he's like, you could be working at McDonald's. He's like, you're not getting a fraction of what they're making. I'm making 100% of what I'm making. And I think that's the biggest thing. And, you know, I'm not trading my time in anymore for to get paid. It's like, listen, I'll make you 5,000, I'll make you 10,000, I'll make you 15,000, whatever it is. And I could charge 2, 3, 4, whatever, 5, 6K, you know what I mean? Because you're making that person double, triple what it is, right? So, you know, I don't think it's excessive at all. And it's really not that time consuming. I mean, at first it will be. It's hard work. You got to do it. You know what I mean? But one thing with speed, which is one of those lessons that Tate speaks about, the faster you do something, the faster you learn it, the faster you make mistakes, the faster you get results, the faster you learn the consequences, and the faster you can just apply the proper behavioral changes to whatever it is that you're doing, well, then that'll stop being something you have to think about, and it'll be something that's automatic. And when it becomes automatic, then you have space to think about other things. So when I'm going into writing emails, for example, it would take me like, for example, 4 or 5 hours to come up with a few. It'll take me like 30, 40 minutes now to just make one, right? So it's like, it's really not that time consuming. I had to put in the hours months ago. And now I could do it, sit down, okay, copy, paste the tweet or whatever piece of content and right away.
Mm-hmm. And now going more into the real world, Would you say the community has had any kind of effect on you? Any impact?
Absolutely. Um, I've actually got to meet quite a few guys from the real world, not in person yet, but for example, like the Retweet Me channel. Okay. The Retweet Me channel, I'll post my things, and every once in a while, like I'll go see like who's posting. And so you got some bigger guys, you got some smaller accounts, and I'd say the past few months I've been able to actually connect with a few guys from the real world, and we've been able to help each other grow each other's Twitter accounts organically. Who's liking who's retweeting who's just like hopping on Twitter spaces or calls and lives and things like that. And you know what? It does build like a sense of brotherhood, right? So although I don't have my friend over here, I know he's somewhere out in the world, and I'll just be able to, give him a call and be like, yo, what's up, man? What are you up to today? Can you help me out with this project? Or can you help with this project? Free of charge. Like, I don't care, whatever, come. Or here's a few extra bucks. If you could just help me out with this project. So I'm helping, everybody's helping each other out.
Mm-hmm. And it's really cool because it's so rare to meet like-minded people like that on that same trajectory outside of the platform in real life.
Yeah, for sure. Everybody's, look, for the most part, they're obviously not making as much, so they can't be sharing as much. When you got more to give.
Mm-hmm. Right. And now, speaking of having more, I'd say that transitions pretty well into, has the Wins channel had any kind of impact on you?
Yeah. I think the Win channel has been one of the things that broke my brain, for lack of better terminology. I remember it was about 2 years ago when I joined Hustlers University, and I was a bit skeptical at first, as I think most people would be, but you make that choice, right? And you're like, hey, it's not wrong. It's 49 bucks. What's 49 bucks? Whatever. Let me just put it in and see what's up. And I'm seeing in the Wins channel, like people are, 200 bucks a day, $1,000 a day. And then, I'm going through all these different channels like crypto, email copywriting, and I'm trying to find out like what I'm going to get into. Obviously, it was going into email copywriting, but I just wanted to see what others are doing. And I was like blown away. I can remember the feeling of like my brain almost like pounding a bit at the temple. Like, what are these big ass numbers? And these people are making them like this. You know what I mean? So I was like, okay. And still, even with that proof, it was a bit hard to really believe in it. I know it's there. So I believe it, but I don't really believe it until I see it, type of thing, at the time anyways. Because all I see is just a bunch of usernames with screenshots, and I'm like, okay, they're real, but like how real? And I know that might sound stupid, but that only really started to kick in when I got my first online dollar. So my first online dollar, real quick, actually came from just writing a little like a 6-page ebook on training. I sold it for $15. So I remember waking up one morning and I got a notification from Gumroad, and it's like, hey, you made a sale, 15 bucks. And I was like, what? I was like, I just did that in my sleep. Like, I put in the work initially for I don't know, like 2 or 3 hours, but then it just kind of like it happened. And that was my only sale, by the way. So like that was one sale. So like that fired me up to continue going. But so yeah, from there, I was like, okay, I could do this. I could do this. I see how if I maybe had sold 2, I would have made 30. If I would have sold, 3, 45, and all this and that. So I was like, okay, cool. Let me see. So I started learning the copywriting. I go pitch my first client, get him on board. And then once he started sending me the payments for the work done, I was like, yeah. Because at this point, then he was starting to send me a few $100s at once. So like my first payment was like $450. Then I made him his free ebook, which is a lead magnet, free. We made over $600 on it. like it just what is it? Organic revenue. We got $600 in organic revenue from that thing. And then he gave me a cut of that. I didn't ask for it. He was like, yo, he's like, you put in the work for that here. So he gave me a good cut of that. And then we got onto the email list and the newsletter and, building his online program and so on and so forth. And I'm just getting paid as I go.
Mhm. Very nice. What would you say the biggest challenge you faced was when you first started out with copywriting?
I'd say two things. One, taking action, and two, actually understanding the psychology the of marketing. So one, taking action. I'll start with that real quick. Growing up, always self-motivated athlete, this and that. But once I had to stop playing ball for a bit, so football, it was a bit hard for me to get out of that rut. So yes, I was freaking motivated. I was looking at these things, but I wasn't 100% applying these things like I should have. That's one. Now, two was not understanding how it is people work. So I was kind of like oblivious. I wasn't too observant. And because of that, I wasn't able to pick up on some of these social skills and psychology tricks and tips and all hacks, right? That they're teaching you to really like get into the reader's mind. For example, like supply and demand. You want to make something scarce. Something as simple as that. Like I didn't understand the concept at first, but when I did months down the line, I was like, this is genius. Something as simple as that, but this is genius. So my two biggest challenges were actually like one, just putting everything into play, and two would be actually understanding what it is that goes behind writing. It's not just writing because it's copywriting, not just writing. Copywriting is to make money. You're selling something. So to do that, you got to understand how to click the right buttons in the brain, pull the right levers, right? So once I started understanding that, that was when I was like, okay, now I'm getting good at this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I could come up with for now.
Right. And what would you say for the three biggest lessons you've learned from your time in the real world?
Yeah. So of course, the biggest lesson would be the speed thing that we were talking about before. Speed. It sounds so simple, but when you implement just doing it, it gets done. Good or bad, you'll see the results, and it's up to you to figure out how you're going to fix it. Then, now, you post a tweet and it sucks. Well, it doesn't get any likes, doesn't get any retweets, it doesn't get any views. Nobody comments on it. Well, why is that? You go look at the analytics real quick. Okay, so this didn't work out. Why? Was it written bad? Was it not for the right person? Figure it out, and either you scrap it or improve it. Improve it. Oh, look at that. It gained a bit more traction. Okay, let's see if we could double down on this and try to improve upon it more. Boom, 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 boom. If I try to improve it and it didn't work at all, it was not for me. Fuck it. Get rid of it. We'll move on to the next thing. Speed will be the biggest thing. Two, let's see, biggest lesson. All right. This is a good one. Do not be afraid of the no's. Right. So having a scarcity mindset, that was one of my biggest problems actually. And that was, you can smell the desperation of somebody when they're just like leeching onto you, because they want to work for you. And I think that's what I was giving off at the very beginning. And I think a lot of people that, first start this whole process out actually do, right? But pretty much it's rejection is only a redirection. If you get rejected, don't stress about it. All you're doing is being redirected in the right direction. And if you're not, well, guess what? You can think of it like a wall. right? And I'm like a ball over here. I'm going here. This guy says, no, there's no hole. I can't break the hole. Okay, no problem. I go here, I bounce off. And then eventually at one point, you know, there's going to be a little hole and you'll fucking break through and you get that person, right? So for me, it was kind of taking the no's personally instead of saying, well, that's business. I'll move on to the person that's actually qualified for my services. That was actually, you know what? I think that was one of the biggest lessons I've learned throughout this whole process was one, rejection is a redirection. And, just keep moving. But there's 8 billion people in this world. What are you gonna freak out about one guy telling you no on like for business? Like he's got his own shit going on, you know? And once I started to really hone in on that, I was like, okay. And then that's when I started closing a bit more deals because kind of like when you approach chicks, you go up to them thinking they're the only one. Well, they'll smell that right off you. They'll sense it, and you're fucked. So the more loose I get on a call, the more you're just trying to help somebody out is usually how you're gonna start closing more. And for my third lesson would be kind of what I just said, and that was what was it? Be a solution. Be a problem solver in a problem-based world. So everybody has problems. Everybody loves to even create their own problems. And this is a perfect opportunity for you if you get your gears turning in the right way to start solving these problems. How could I solve this guy's problem? What's his problem? Is it time? Is it money? Can he not, because is he not going to be able to be on his account? So that means I could come in and manage it. He's got the money, it's just another time. Cool. Boom, you just solve this problem. So now you're making him money, he's paying you, and the ball's rolling. You know what I mean? Is it something that you have a prospect who's coming to you and they're like, I don't know what to do. I'll show you. And then when you show them, like, well, you know what? I'm too lazy. I don't feel like doing this. Here, you just do it for me. All you do is show that you know what to do. And he's like, okay, I trust you. You know what? Here. I think that was one, like, again, each of these problems have been one of the biggest problems again for me, but it really is true. I mean, they're quite monumental once you start to feel the impact that it has in your life. And once you start accumulating, the speed, being a problem solver and, understand that rejection is a redirection. You start putting those three together. You can't lose, really. You're going to take L's, but really those L's turn into dubs because you should be learning from them. Yeah.
And you can't expect to be confident when you're going into a new endeavor. It's through going through those things that you eventually develop that confidence.
Right.
Okay. And now that you're on this trajectory, where do you see your life heading in 6 months to 1 year?
Right now, I'm looking towards the next 2 months. I'm thinking I'm making my first $10,000 a month. And then from there, I'm planning on making it consistently. And from there, scaling. So kind of like I had said at the beginning of this video, so now I'm an email copywriter. And just yesterday, I'd gotten off the phone with somebody for a high ticket closer position, which I think would extremely help me out with my copywriting and then copywriting complement that. So already I've been on sales as a sales rep, door to door, B2B. So I got the experience there. Now I'm going to put it to the phone and see how many high ticket, products or services I could sell. And then pretty much the closer position with the copywriting position will complement each other, as you know, you're obviously both in sales. So with those two, I do plan on minimum hitting like $20,000 a month, and you know, just having my days filled. Well, not filled. You know what? I mean, the whole point of this was to not necessarily have my days filled with work, but really rather start delegating some of this work. Obviously, as a sales closer, I'm going to be doing that work hands-on, but for the email marketing, I do eventually plan on having a few guys on the team, you know, an agency of some sort, and just starting to scale from there.
Mm-hmm. Very nice. I look forward to doing a follow-up and seeing how everything has played out in the future.
Yeah, give me a few months, brother. We'll be back.
Cool. And would you say, what would you say for if Tate has had any kind of impact on you?
Oh, oh man. I'll, so it was about 3 years ago, was it 2000, whatever, 2023, 2020 was when I really started to get into Tate. One of my friends, also Matteo, actually ended up showing me who Tate was. And I was like, bro, like this guy sounds a bit wacky, but I love it. Like there was something that resonated with me. And at the time before that, you know, I've always been like that confident kind of guy, this and that. But there was something that struck a chord when he would talk, and I would be like, I could be doing so much more. Like I know his message might be a bit harsh. This is me at the time, right? So like I wasn't like in the same mindset as I am now. So I'm like, yeah, it's a bit harsh, but like I really like what he's saying. Like I was able to look past his tone and his what most people have an issue with, his attitude per se. So I was able to look past that and really like dive deep and say like, nah, man, like the message behind this is way deeper than people think. And then when I started hearing about what he thinks about, you know, the men of the society and the girls about the society, and you know how inflation is only going up, and there's no better time in history to be fucking rich and to make money. And it's never been easier because most guys aren't doing shit. You don't even have that much competition. And then once I started understanding this, when I started going out a bit more, I'm starting to look at the guys around me, not necessarily my friends. I'm looking at like, you know, when I go out, I'm looking, I'm like, like there's really not much to it. Really all I have to do is show up, put in the work, you know, hit the gym, do my push-ups, my squats, you know, make money, and you know, just go from there. And once I started doing that, I was able to start like pretty much creating a gap, at least a perceived gap in my head, right? So I started creating this gap between me and like, you know, the average guy. You call it cocky, whatever, but seriously. But you start to see, you know, once you start making money and you start learning how to make, you know, you're learning how to speak to people, how to understand people, and you know, start to pick up some cues from people. You start to understand like who they are really and why they are who they are. And you know, some guys can't even shake your fucking hand properly and look you in the eye. And that was probably one of the moments where I was like, yeah, it's donezo for them. I'm going to the fucking top. And I'll say this, I actually got to speak to Tate very briefly on Instagram about 2 years ago. And I was like, I had tagged him on a story on Instagram. And only like a few months later down the line, he messaged me back. He's like, yo, you tagged me. This Instagram is for my chicks. What's up? He's like, how long have you been following me? So I'm like, yo, no way. So I was like, yeah, I've been following you for quite a bit, you know. So he's like, okay. He's like, keep doing your thing. He's like, when should I expect you in the, you know, in the community? And I was like, man, soon enough. you know, and I've just been working towards there, bro, and it's been quite the journey since.
Interesting. Yeah, I love that. Okay.
I still got the text. I know this thing is banned, but like,
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay. So before we end off, what advice would you have to people who are considering joining the real world?
If you're thinking about joining the real world, just do it. Just do it. Honestly, um, it has been it might sound cliche, but legit, one of the best decisions I've ever made because it's not just about the whole making money part. It's about understanding humans. It's about understanding yourself, why you do things, why you don't do things, and why you like things and why you don't like things. And when you start to understand yourself and why you are who you are, why you do what you do, why you lack what you lack, why you don't do what you're supposed to do, when you start understanding these things, which will be taught to you, and you'll get a better sense of understanding in the real world. Assuming you have, at least a straight enough mind and some balls to get some shit done, you'll change your life around. And the people around you they'll notice that. And that was one of the things for me. So when people start noticing that and you feel good, you feel good, you play good, this and that, like you'll be good. You'll be making the money and you'll be 10xing the $49 investment. And that's what I gotta say for you. And if you need any help, feel free to message me, and I'll be more than happy to help you navigate.
Okay. So on that note, if people want to find out more about you or message you, where can they do so?
So you can message me on either Instagram on my personal page. It'll be M.MARINO, or you can find me where I'll be mostly on, and that's Twitter under Speed Copy Kills. Yeah, Speed Copy Kills. You heard it right.
Very nice. Okay. So Matteo, really appreciate your time again. And as I said, looking forward to do a follow-up to see how things have developed for
Absolutely.
you.
Thank
So
you.
all the best to you and goodbye.
Take care, brother.